Top of the morning, everybody. Welcome to the Sweat, presented by DraftKings. She's Jessica Cofield. I am Emerson Lancia. Baby shark,
Baby. Okay.
As for what we have coming up in the show, we are going to preview the NFL season with a former first-round pick, plus Jeff and Pierce, who were not drafted.
In a huge shock, who were not drafted. Plus, we're going to recap the Travelers Championship.
Oh my God! What did I do this weekend?
With someone who was there. We're
I
also
was so sweaty.
Yeah, we're going to look ahead to the Rocket Mortgage Classic. But first, summer is here.
Look at my tan.
This was the first official weekend of summer, even though everyone thinks Memorial Day weekend is the start of summer.
You know what's...
The summer solstice is actually the start of summer.
And you know what's depressing since the summer solstice
We're
already
halfway.
happened? Yeah, we're kind of like halfway through summer, and now every day we have a little less daylight. So let's all be even more depressed and miserable than we already are right now.
Yeah, we're also getting closer to learning who will be representing the two leagues in Seattle.
Yeah, the Midsummer Classic going to be sick.
Inch towards that.
That's right. That's going to be in Seattle. First phase of All-Star voting, by the way. Take a look at your screen. Wrapping up on Thursday. Acuna, Ohtani posting automatic entries into said All-Star game. Not a shocker. They're both favorites to win MVP on the DK Sportsbook right now as well. Phase 2 of voting opens today. And once this exhibition game rolls around, friendly reminder, we're going to have tons of coverage because Jared Carrabis is going to be out there in the Emerald City. I'm actually really disappointed in us for not sending Steve Buchanan out there as well. Another lifelong fan of America's Team 1A.
Yeah. Well, let's at least talk to him and see if
I would love to.
or Ohtani make it into any
like
of their
his face.
lineups and betting slips tonight. So there he is, DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan, Tanner Kern, along with RotoWire's Paul Bruno. Fellas, gonna cover the bases ahead of tonight's 6-game main slate, starting with your favorite DFS pitcher. Steve, who is it?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Justin Verlander at 8,300 tonight, going up against the Milwaukee Brewers. You know, maybe Justin Verlander isn't the guy that we're used to seeing in years past, but Milwaukee is one of the most strikeout-prone teams in the league. They're 7th in strikeout rate against righties to go along with just a 308 WOBA, 91 WRC plus. Both of those stats live near the bottom of the league against righties. Now, Verlander is striking out less than a batter per inning right now. He's only at 7.6 K9 on the year. But over the past month or so, when he's striking out at least a batter per inning, he's scoring at least 20 DraftKings fantasy points or more. We've seen him do that recently against the Yankees, against the Blue Jays, against the Reds just about over a month ago. So at 8,300 for Verlander tonight against a team that should provide strikeouts, I think that's a pretty good price there for Verlander.
All right, Paul, Verlander is the 4th most expensive pitcher on this slate, one of only 5 guys who are over 8K. Are you also going to be spending up at pitcher?
I'm in that range, but below the top 2 guys, 12,600 for Strider or 11,000 for Castillo, a little bit too much for my taste. So I'm going a little bit below then, looking at Dylan Cease of the White Sox facing the Angels tonight. He's 3rd on the RotoWire list for projected points that in the DK format, so I'll try him, costing only $7,700. And he's been on a really nice roll of late, 3 earned runs or less in 7 of his last 8 starts. In those 45 innings pitched, he's allowed 33 hits and 19 walks. That's a nice whip of 1.15, and he's also striking out a ton of batters, more than 1 per inning over that stretch with 51 Ks on his ledger. Similarly, I like Andrew Heaney of the Rangers against the Tigers tonight. He's going to cost $8,000, been solid lately too, with 8 straight starts where he's allowed 3 or less earned runs, along with 45 strikeouts and 38 hits and 17 walks for a whip of 122. That's not too bad. I like the consistency of both these guys. That's what I look for in a starting pitcher when it comes to appearances on your show.
All right, Tanner, what's up? We paying up at pitcher here?
Now we're going down $7,300 for Reed Detmers in this spot. You can't look at Detmers' numbers over the course of the season because they're not that good, but his past 2 games have been phenomenal. In his past 3 games, he's actually given up 1 earned run or less, but the past 2 is what I really look at here. 6 innings against the Texas Rangers, 3 hits, 1 earned run, and then he shoved against the Dodgers last Tuesday, 7 innings, 2 hits, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, no runs allowed. So when I look at Detmers, he should be very good tonight against the Chicago White Sox team that quite frankly can't win on the road. They're only 14-25 this season as the visitors. And offensively, they're not that good. They're barely scratching a 300 OBP against left-handers. Their overall OBP is only 292. They've hit 91 homers this season, 321 runs. The Angels have over a 70-run advantage on the season. So not a great matchup tonight for Chicago, and that's why I like Reed Detmers to shove.
All right, Paul, let's talk some offense here. Let's go to second base. Best DFS hitter tonight. Who's atop your list?
I like the new kid on the block for America's team, Ellie De La Cruz for the Reds for $5,800. He's having a great start to his career, hitting in the heart of the Reds order, batting cleanup, and has really been on fire before yesterday's 0 for 5. That's 15 hits in his last 57 at-bats, including 5 multi-hit games over the last 2 weeks. That's hot enough for me to take a look, and he's made a seamless transition to the bigs, and no one has had an answer for him prior to yesterday. I think he gets back in another role tonight. Then I have a penchant for a guy who has 2 first names, just like me. So I'm going to look at Luis Robert, coming into tonight's action, costing $5,900 against lefty Reed Detmers of the Angels. So the platoon edge is on his side of this power of hitter who's clubbed 41 extra base hits to date. I also like the way he's been going over the last 2 weeks with 13 hits, including 6 homers as part of a 1.117 OPS.
All right, well, Ellie De La Cruz, $5,800, most expensive he has been in his short time in the majors. Tanner, best DFS hitter tonight.
Yeah, so I don't agree with Paul. I'm going to go with Ellie De La Cruz. The last week when I was on the show, I picked Ellie for his to be the DFS hitter. He had a cycle, so it's good vibes right now. I got to stay with it. Batting 333, 3 homers, 10 RBIs. He's only been hitless in 4 games in the show so far. He's been that good this season. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's against right-handers, left-handers, and you've seen his MVP odds drop from plus 900 down close to plus 500. Just that's what he's doing right now. He's making plays all over the field with his bat as well, hitting the long ball. So I got to go with Ellie De La Cruz. He hasn't given me a reason to go against him, and I think for the value, it's still very good value here.
All right, Steve, give us someone who's going to hit for the cycle tonight.
Wow, that's a big ask to do. I also had Luis Robert down at 4,900 going up against Reed Detmers, kind of like Paul mentioned. Annihilating isn't the proper word to say what Luis Robert has been doing against left-handed pitching. 495 WOBA on the year against him, a 225 WRC plus. Over the weekend, he became the first player in Major League Baseball to reach the 20 home runs and 20 doubles mark. So he's been really crushing the ball all season long. Of the 21 hits that he has against lefties this season, 11 of them have gone for extra bases. I'd like to spot for him tonight against Reed Detmers.
All right, third base on the DK Sportsbook, a game total bet, Tanner, that you are eyeing for tonight. What is it?
So I like the over of 10 runs in the Reds-Orioles game. Neither of these teams are defined by pitching. They're both defined by offense, and that's the reason to look at the over in this game. Brandon Williamson going for Cincinnati, 1-0 with a 5.4 ERA. Really has not been good, but he's been a lot better than Cole Irvin, who's going to take the mound for the Orioles tonight. 1-3 with a 7.7 ERA and a 1.76 whip. Only thrown 23 innings this season, but allowed 31 hits, including 5 homers. Has some walk issues as well in there. When you look at the Reds, they've been able to respond when they go down. Doesn't matter. They're going to find ways to score. And the same goes for the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, both teams have been hitting the ball like crazy. Baltimore's got just under 100 home runs on the season. Cincinnati's really came along in their past 15 or 20 games. Ellie De La Cruz, again, we've talked about him throughout this entire segment. He is the guy that you want to watch tonight. I think he's going to have a big swing and help get this game over the 10-run total.
All right, Bukes, a game total bet that you are looking at tonight. What is it?
Yeah, taking the over 9 runs for the Tigers and Rangers tonight at minus 105. You look at Andrew Heaney's expected stats. He's been getting extremely lucky as of late from that defense bailing him out behind him. His FIP on the over the past 2 games is 2 runs higher than his ERA and against the starts with the White Sox and the Angels. You look at the batting average for balls in play in that game against the Angels, it was at 455 for that game. So to say that he got lucky by his defense behind him is something you can absolutely say. You have Matthew Boyd going for the Tigers. Last time he faced the Rangers, 5 runs on 5 hits and 4 walks through 6 innings. This Rangers team has no issues going up against left-handed pitching and whatever you want to call that Tigers bullpen. It doesn't matter who they're running out there at this point. So give me over 9 runs for that game here tonight.
All right, Paul, do you also like an over for this evening? What's up?
I got a couple of them. I like the call that Tanner made on Cincinnati and Baltimore. That's 2 very good offenses. Trust them to go big tonight. And then I also like the lowest total on the board, The Nats visit to Seattle, set at 7.5 runs. I think this is a spot where the Mariners do what they did a couple of times in the last week, and that's go double digits. And so they'll get to that number all by themselves against a very bad Washington club.
All right, Bukes, we're heading home. Favorite game bet? Take me there.
Yeah, I like the Reds team total over 4.5 runs. These guys have touched on a little bit here with that game there, but getting them at over 4.5 runs here at -120. Reds can really hit lefties. We've seen this all throughout the weekend. We saw this over the past week. 350 WAR against them, 113 WRC plus. Cole Irvin gives up a lot of fly balls, a lot of hard contact, almost a 40% hard contact rate on the year, and an expected ERA of almost 9 for the season. They should have no issue going over 4.5 runs here tonight.
Paul, what do you want?
I like Dylan Cease. I said it already. So I'm going to go back to that game, finding the White Sox are plus 125 on the money line. I'll take that payoff against the Angels this evening.
All right, Tanner.
I'll go with the Rangers on the run line tonight. You look at Andrew Heaney and Matthew Boyd. Neither pitcher is anything to write home about, but when you look at the offensive differences in this game, it's staggering for Texas. They've hit 102 homers compared to Detroit with 67. These teams have played 3 times this year, and the Rangers have covered in 2 of them. All 3 of those games were in Detroit, so I like the Rangers to get the job done at home tonight.
All right, extra bases.
Whoa.
We have the time. Paul, hit me with a player prop that you were riding with this evening.
I'm looking at Luis Castillo. He's been on fire in 15 starts when it comes to the strikeout prop, so he's well positioned to go deep in the night's game against the Nats club that I already said they suck. And so I'll take the over on the prop, which is set at 6.5.
All right, Bukes, where are you going? Player prop.
Yeah, Josh Jung over 1.5 bases tonight at plus 115. You're getting a really good number on this one here. A bat that crushes left-handed pitching, 430 WOBA, 180 WRC plus against them. He's gone over 1.5 bases in 31 of the 74 games that he's played on the year. I like the Rangers offense overall. Jung hitting near the heart of the lineup. I like him to go over 1.5 bases here tonight, plus 115.
All right, Tanner, what are you doing?
Hey, give me Reed Detmers over 17.5 total outs recorded here. He's done this in his past 2 games against really good offenses in the Dodgers and the Rangers. We were all talking about Luis Robert. Yes, he can hit lefties, but overall this White Sox team cannot do that, and they really struggle offensively on the road. So I think Reed Detmers has a good night and goes at least 6 innings.
All right, Chinchillas, farewell. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We got to take a break. We must prepare for the arrival of Mike Pritchard, the former NFL first-round wide receiver. Will tell us where he sees DeAndre Hopkins landing once he finally decides to stop dragging out this whole free agency thing.
Welcome back to the Sweat, where it is now time to turn our attention to the NFL, because we're just past the midpoint between the end of the draft and the start of training camp.
And this man has been part of many of them during his NFL career. Former wide receiver, VSiN host currently, Mike Pritchard. Good morning, Mike. Haven't seen you in person since Arizona. I know we had you on a little bit for some draft stuff. How you been?
I've been excellent. Emerson, Jesse, great to be with you here on the Sweat. I mean, it's been a fast and furious offseason, obviously, in the National Football League. It's always that way. But the headlines continue, the storylines continue, and we cannot wait until the season gets kicked off. I mean, I'm out here in Vegas, and we're already getting ready for the Super Bowl. So I've done a ton of specials and a ton of appearances around the city. As everybody's anticipating the big game later on, well, actually in next year, 2024.
Yeah, that's going to be electric. We are going to have a hell of a time together out there, man. I'll be sleeping on your couch, Mike. I can't wait for that.
I got an extra room.
All right.
No, don't tell him that.
Look at that, baby. We're the two best friends that anyone can have. All right, so one of those storylines, as you mentioned, offseason jam-packed with them. Right now, it's DeAndre Hopkins. So due to still testing the free agent market here, Mike, reportedly in no rush to sign anywhere, which landing spot do you think makes the most sense for him?
Well, Emerson, it's interesting because there's so many layers to this. One, Arizona is eating over $20 million just to get rid of D-Hop, right? And I think perception really is his worst enemy right now because you only have two teams. He hasn't been able to really create a market or a frenzied market from a free agency standpoint or a release player standpoint. So what's the perception on D. Hopkins right now? And I don't know if it's that high. I mean, he's got familiarity with O'Brien up there in New England, and then obviously Tennessee might be desperate enough. As a former player and a guy who's kind of been in this situation or seen this situation play out, it seems like DeAndre Hopkins feels like he has enough money in the bank to really look at every situation. Or in fact, if they get to training camp, if teams get to training camp and a star receiver goes down, all of a sudden there could be a desperation there to sign DeAndre Hopkins for the dollar amount that he wants. And I don't think he's in a rush. He's willing to wait it out because that market's just not strong enough. And if it doesn't become stronger, then certainly he can pick and choose, I think, his landing spot. He could go to a contender, right? And take the minimum amount allowed for his age and his experience, and still fit in and still contribute in a big way.
Yes, a lot of talk about his best football being behind him.
Just turned 31.
Yeah.
31 years old is not exactly ancient. I say that. I'm older than that, so I'm like, it pains me to be like 31. He's really getting up there for the sport of football. Mike, what are the odds he's still, you said he can contribute in a big way, but what are the odds that he's still an elite pass catcher with a new team?
Jesse, his hands are incredible. I mean, he's got great, it's like stick 'em. We can't use it anymore, but that's what he can catch every ball thrown his way. Can he separate and can he be a playmaker like he once was? Probably not. I would define him as a really complimentary receiver right now, a receiver that could round out a roster that has a star receiver, a star playmaking number one deep threat receiver, right? And I think DeAndre Hopkins is probably more of a possession receiver and a reliable option for a quarterback. If he's matched up against a third cornerback or even a fourth cornerback, his Hall of Fame credentials, I think could play out in a big way for a team that could utilize a player that's reliable in critical situations.
And another dude who's out there and available right now, you got Dalvin Cook, Mike, who's like, yeah, I'd love to play with Hopkins. And I'm sure he's not the only guy who feels like that around the league. It's just that the running back position has really been devalued in the NFL, around the NFL, the last few years. And because Minnesota needed to save a little bit of cap space here, he gets released. How much more respect does this position deserve? You even had guys like Melvin Gordon III saying recently, we just don't get no love. It's literally the worst position to play in the NFL right now.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about too, Emerson, because next to the quarterback touches the ball on offense on every play, right? Next to the quarterback, the running back touches the ball more than anybody else. A wide receiver, a tight end, a fullback, it doesn't matter. But yet that position is looked at as teams or franchises want to devalue that position. I look at Dalvin Cook and very productive. He played in 17 games last year. He had an injury, right? He had an injury, played through it, and that's the nature of that position. A lot of guys, they understand this. And I was a former running back in college, and then I switched to wide receiver because of the punishment. But Dalvin Cook is still a very productive player, and he's only 27 years old. In comparison, there's a player that got hurt last year, premium player too, right? He's 30 years old, just turned 30 years old, and got a contract in which they restructured his contract. They didn't outright release him, and that was Cooper Kupp, right? And Cooper Kupp's older than Dalvin Cook, but he plays a position in which the perception is that it's a more durable position, or you can survive it throughout the NFL season. Whereas the running back position is thought of as a very tough position to play, and you're not 100% certain that a player is going to make it the entire year. But that goes true for each and every player out there. We're all one play away from sitting in a training room, icing up, or missing some games. But I think if you're highly productive, you still should have a place in the National Football League.
Yeah, and how do you see the Saquon saga playing out with New York? Because he wants that star-level contract extension right now.
Well, if New York digs their heels in and they're really just, look, we don't want to give you a long-term deal in which you think you're worth. I think there's a number on the table. It's right around $12 million a year. We'll see if Saquon wants to do something like that. And there's ways to make it attractive for a player if the team wants to stay within a certain number, like a range, 10 to 12 million a year. You can give them a great sign-in bonus. You can guarantee money. You can do certain things to make the player happy if you want to still keep that cap number down. So I think the Giants will get something done. We're coming up to a deadline in the middle of July, right before training camp. Josh Jacobs is another player too. I think we'll see something get done between those two players and their football teams.
All right, speaking of keeping players happy, we had some more potential issues regarding a wide receiver.
Drama.
Okay, we had the whole strange situation a few weeks ago in Buffalo. Stephon Diggs missed an OTA. McDermott was like, I'm nervous. Goes to the press. He's like, yeah, I'm real freaked out.
I'm very worried.
I'm very worried. Josh Allen is like, I love Stephon. He's my man. And he's trying to sort of talk to the press. He's like, it doesn't work without him, but we don't really know what's going on. Stephon Diggs posted some very cryptic Instagram posts after that. Then he shows up the next day. It's all good, apparently. I mean, it's obviously just because of the way his contract is structured and what they've already paid him for this year, highly unlikely that we could see Stephon Diggs not be a Bill. But how important is he to Buffalo's Super Bowl chances?
Jesse, I think he's vital, to be honest with you. I mean, Stephon Diggs, a premium playmaker in the National Football League. And he wasn't productive to his standards in the playoffs. And certainly they didn't reach it to the Super Bowl. And that's a general feeling in Buffalo, that their roster is set to make a run to get to the Super Bowl, not just to get to the playoffs. And there's some frustration right there. And, rumors about him and play calling and all that. I don't know what's going on in terms of McDermott and Diggs and Josh Allen and Dorsey, the offensive coordinator, but they got to get on the same page, right? If the Buffalo Bills are expecting to get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. So it's unfortunate that they're not on the same page right now. And from a betting standpoint, keep an eye on that. I've been on record already suggesting that Buffalo is due to regress a little bit because they're more the same. And they lack that killer instinct to help them get through the playoffs. And now you have dissension a little bit in that locker room when it comes to egos, play calling, contribution, and then certainly where everybody ranks in terms of the hierarchy out there, right? Daboll's gone. We know where he's at. He's in New York. Excellent offense coordinator, now the head coach. But he was a strong personality in that locker room, or certainly on the coaching staff. For that offense. All those egos on that offense in Buffalo, you need a strong personality. Hopefully, Josh Allen will turn into that alpha and make sure everybody's on the same page.
So are you telling me you don't like Buffalo to win the division?
I do not.
Okay, who do you like? You like the new Aaron Rodgers-led Jets now?
I do.
Let's go.
Yes. And that's not the hype. That's not the hype, because continuity is everything, and nuances is more than everything. Like, this is what separates each and every team in the National Football League. They're all talented, right? We see a draft each and every year. We see all these outstanding players. But what distinguishes you or what separates you a lot of times is continuity, but it's the nuances. It's the ability to elevate a play when it could go wrong or a defense is out there set against you. And so if we look at both sides of the ball of the Jets here, they're stout defensively. They'll sign Quentin Williams. I'm sure they'll get that deal done. But on the other side, they have an offense with a play caller that's going to elevate this offense. And you look around him and all those playmakers that he has, the fact that he's paid attention, I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers here, he's paid attention to the Jets and his franchise throughout the entire offseason. It's a new message for him. I think he's a fresh player too, and looking forward to the season. And I just don't want to discount those type of quarterbacks. It happened with Tom Brady in Tampa. But I'm high on the Jets going into the season.
Bills plus 120 to win the AFC East, and Jets plus 270, Dolphins plus 300, Patriots, hello down there, plus 800. Mike, so Stephon Diggs is to Buffalo what Jamar Chase is to Cincinnati, and the Bengals wide receiver saying Joe Burrow, best quarterback in the league, but then you have Travis Kelce firing back and say, hey, no, don't disrespect, do not disrespect Patrick Mahomes like that.
Right.
On the DK Sportsbook, atop the MVP rankings, plus 700. That's Patty Mayonnaise. Then Joe Burrow's right behind him at plus 750. How likely is it that Smokin' Joe actually ends up winning an MVP award over Mahomes?
And I just want to say
it.
Didn't Joe Burrow say that it's Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league? So
He'd be a wise man to say that.
Stay humble.
Yeah.
He's not lying.
Yeah.
No, he's not lying. He's not lying. Actually, full disclosure, I had a 7-1 ticket on Patrick Mahomes last year.
Nice.
I got it in August. So you can wait this out a little bit, at least get into training camp, depending on the situation here. But I had a 7-1 ticket on Patrick Mahomes. I thought Kansas City wanted to reinvent themselves. They wanted to matriculate the ball a little bit. They wanted to make Patrick Mahomes more patient. In other words, a pocket passer. No more escaping the pocket and making a home run play to Tyreek Hill. We want you to be more controlled, more efficient. And that led to a Super Bowl championship. I think Joe Burrow, is he better than Patrick Mahomes? No. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the ultimate competitor. I heard that firsthand from Eric Bieniemy, his former offense coordinator. And now Joe Burrow is very competitive. We know that. Going into year 4, too, I just talked about nuances with Aaron Rodgers. I think the nuances are there, too, for Joe Burrow to elevate this offense. I'm looking for the Bengals to do spectacular things this year. So in the rearview mirror right now, Patrick Mahomes is the best. But out that front windshield, I could see Joe Burrow challenging Patrick Mahomes this season. So I don't think Jamar Chase is lying. Plus 750 is attractive as well.
All right, well, as we head into training camps, what's like a position battle or a team that you're looking at here, a storyline that you have your eye on?
Anthony Richardson. I think bettors can make some money on this guy if he's a hit out there in Indy. He's a fit with Shane Steichen and what they want to do with the 6 options or 6 eligibles. So you got the running backs, and you got the wide receivers, you got the tight end, and now you got this quarterback that's a specimen. Kind of like Lamar Jackson. And we saw Lamar Jackson kind of do spectacular things early in his career, too. So I'm looking at Anthony Richardson, whether he settles down and becomes that ultimate fit that they want him to be in that offense. I mean, Jalen Hurts, the proof is in the pudding with all these type of quarterbacks when you run 6 options or 6 eligibles, and it's really hard to defend. I think Anthony Richardson can put up some stellar numbers this year. And a team that I'm high on, one of my former teams, to be honest with you, Jesse, is the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, I think if they can build on what they established last season, and they've added Smith and Jigba, the defense, I think, is even more stout than it was last year. More experience is Pete Carroll, right? And Pete Carroll's going to have that team revved up. So I'm looking not for it. They were a surprise team last year, but I'm looking for them to perhaps make a deep run in an NFC conference that, let's face it, is top heavy with the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Cowboys. I think Seattle Seahawks can sneak in that race as well.
Anthony Richardson plus 600 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. VSiN has its NFL betting guide coming out this week, Mike. So hook us up with one surprise team or an underdog you think has a shot at winning the division. And per our previous conversation here, it sounds like it could be the Jets.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't be mad at that underdog,
Yeah.
but I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to surprise people. The Saints, I think, are the favorite, right, in that horrible, horrible division from a season ago. But Ritter, the quarterback, or it could be Heineke, depending on effective play or not. But the weapons around the quarterback position and that defense. I mean, they've really got experience on the defense side of the ball. They got older, they got proven players, and now offensively, they have so many weapons between London and Pitts and Bijan Robinson and Cordero Patterson. If they stay healthy, I think their offensive line is better. Arthur Smith is an incredible coach too. So I think they can win 10 games this year. They won 7. So it's an easy leap from worst to first, right? They finished last in that horrible division, winning 7 games last year. I think they can win about 10 games this year because the schedule on the back end gets very friendly for the Atlanta Falcons.
Look at you showing the team that drafted you some love.
I know.
Mighty kind of you.
Yeah. I'm throwing in the Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks, right?
Yeah, right?
My
Love
other
it.
team, to be honest with you, my other team, the Denver Broncos, I'm looking for them. We'll see what happens with
Okay.
Peyton and Russell Wilson, right? But to throw this out to your audience, my 3-leg teaser parlay with my former teams has hit close to 60% the last 2 years.
Let's
So,
go.
and I'm looking for the right situations to play that 3-leg teaser with my former teams right there.
All right, cool. So we'll be listening to all of your betting advice as well as everything that comes in the VSiN betting guide. Love it.
Okay, so give us some betting advice right here. Who's a rookie you think has good odds for Rookie of the Year? Is it Richardson, maybe? Does he have it, have it locked up?
Yeah, I mean, I think Anthony Richardson could do it. Certainly Bijan Robinson is a great candidate. I mean, it's rare that we have running backs to win Rookie of the Year, that situation right there. Wide receiver, people will look there. But I'm going down the board to Jalen Hyatt. This kid, look at the board right there, 28-1. I mean, he's a speedster. He's a playmaker. And he played in a system that kind of exploited him a little bit in terms of, in a good way too, utilizing his speed and his ability. If Dable feels like this guy could be a playmaker, I think he could put up some decent numbers at the wide receiver position. And in return, I mean, as a rookie, and if the wide receiver still is in favor for Rookie of the Year, I think that could be a nice payoff right there. So I'm keeping my eye on Jalen Hyatt right there for the Giants.
28-1, we like that. All right.
We do. Money.
Woo! Mike, thank you for joining
Thanks,
us
Mike.
today. We really appreciate it. Everybody at home, make sure you head over to VSiN to subscribe. The betting guide drops on Thursday. It's got division, conference, and Super Bowl predictions from 20 experts.
Woo!
Future bets, season win total analysis for every team, plus so much more.
Yep, still ahead, folks. Why Sung J M just became the biggest villain on the PGA Tour and who our golf analysts are backing at the Rocket Mortgage Classic this week. Big, beefy names were abundant on the leaderboard at the Travelers Championship over the weekend, but a near record-setting performance from New England's own Keegan Bradley was more than enough to keep them at bay. Claiming his 6th career victory on the PGA Tour, dude was flirting with the PGA Tour's 70-hole scoring record, ended up settling for a 3-shot win over Zach Blair and Brian Harmon. Anywho, good morning to DraftKings contributor Jeff Ulrich, DK Nation's Colin Sherwin, two of our gorgeous golf gurus here at DraftKings.
Yeah, Keegan with the win, all right. New England crowd, including Emerson Latzia, propelling him to the win, okay. He was able to basically cruise on Sunday, shooting just a 68, but Reavie fell off. Big rounds were earlier in the day. Yep. So, Jeff, thoughts on Bradley's win? Can he do it again this week in Detroit?
Yeah, no, I mean, Keegan really likes that event. Like you said, New England native, has ties to just that event and just that area of the world. So, I mean, I'm not really shocked that he came to play. He was coming off a decent U.S. Open, but as far as backing him this week goes, no, I mean, I think that he clearly, likes that course, has played there a lot, and he's not really a player I would necessarily expect to see go back-to-back. I mean, Keegan has been streaky all year. We know that the putter has gotten a lot better for him, but, I mean, again, asking him to, again, gain over 7 strokes putting, beat a field that still has a pretty decent, few names at the top. No, not really my pick to go back-to-back here. Nice win, though, and definitely, when we're coming to that event, horse history to me at the Travelers is something that probably wasn't weighed enough for me last week, and just something to keep in mind for 2024.
All right, what do we think? Colin, talk to me.
So you guys know I've been a big Keegan top 10, top 20 kind of guy. I've bet him a lot. I think he's a little undervalued, especially on courses that run a little either really easy or really hard. Anything in the middle, not as great, but he can do really well in the really easy stuff and the really challenging stuff. And of course, this week I put no golf bets down because I was like busy moving and doing everything, and I got $0 out of this win for the guy who I've been riding for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. I'm with Jeff though this week. I don't think it's like any chance that he goes back to back. It's a little bit different setup this week. We're going to talk about some guys that I think have a much better chance. But yeah, Bradley, look, man, I think we all forget this guy's won a major. He plays really well. He has the ability. For him, it's all about can he putt the ball. And if he can putt the ball, he can beat anybody. But can he putt the ball consistently? He clearly likes the greens at the Travelers. But long term, I don't know how that translates week to week at this time of year.
Well, Colin, you look wet. You look like you just got out of the shower. It's exactly the way I looked when I was at the 3rd round of the Travelers on Saturday with Howard and a few other friends. Soon after our arrival, though, we found ourselves following the group of Victor Hovland, Roy McIlroy, Sungjae Im, all of them, by the way, leaving us hanging when we were looking for just a simple freaking high five. Nope, Victor completely ignores my call for help and love. Here comes Rory McIlroy in the yellow. Hey, Rory, how about a little high five? Nope, pays attention to the other side of the rope. Then Sungjae slides in. I'm screaming, right here, touch me. And then he completely avoids our section. Look at this, hand down, and then he comes right back to the same side.
Yeah, I think screaming, right here, touch me, probably doesn't help.
Whatever.
And if you're a golfer, just for a minute, think about this.
I am a golfer.
There's other grown men screaming for a high five.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Sweaty, grown adult men being like, hey, man, can I get a high five?
Stop.
Oh, man, please touch me. Touch me. I just want a high five. Oh, my God, I'm your biggest fan.
Chill out, dude. Grown men are people, too. Jeff, which PGA Tour dude would you want a high five from?
I'm just going to point out here our notes from their producer on this segment. Boring story from Emerson about being at tournament. Please humor him.
What is boring about that story? There's nothing boring about that story.
It's embarrassing.
I mean, I kind of want to give Sungjae a high five now just for so blatantly avoiding you. I mean,
true.
He didn't even try to make Rory was like, oh yeah, I'm on this side. Sorry, pal, I can't come over to see you. Sanjay was like, yeah, high five, high five. Nope.
Sanjay was like, high five, gross. High five, gross.
He was like, that man, something seems off with him. Look how much he's sweating.
He was like, don't want to touch his hands.
Honestly, real talk, Jeff, that is why I bought this shirt, because I was originally wearing this shirt, this green one that Howard wore in here today. It's a picture of Arnold Palmer. You've seen me wear it on the show before. Arnold Palmer ripping a dart, but this thing was soaked in sweat, and all the guys I went there like, something is off with you. I'm like, maybe my thyroids are acting up. I don't know what it is.
Emerson, it's not weird that I thought something was wrong with you.
I mean,
we think something's wrong with you
Sanjay's first
too.
win came on a Jack Nicklaus course, so maybe just a Jack Nicklaus
Okay.
guy. To answer your question really quickly here, because I'm sure this segment's already taken too long.
Yeah, it has.
Tommy Fleetwood, I'd love to give Tommy Fleetwood a high five. What a nice guy, comes to Canada, lets the Canadian win, congratulates him. Tommy Fleetwood's got to be at the top of most people's lists.
Colin, who are you high-fiving? You can take your pick. Any PGA Tour pro.
Oh, give me Rory. Like, I just think what he's done for the last over a year, being the leader of the tour, turning down hundreds of millions of dollars and getting stabbed in the back and handling it with pure class. And plus, like, he's probably, if he's not the best player in the world, he's one of the top 5 players in the world. So I'm a huge Rory guy. I think he'd be the coolest guy to high five. And he definitely ignored you, Emerson, because how many microbrews deep were you at that point from the hospitality tank? Because I know you weren't.
Actually,
paying
we had not even had a beverage at that point. So I was.
That's not possible.
Don't believe that.
No.
All right. I mean, I had a few. Yeah, no, I had a few tailgating. That's it.
Okay.
But I had not had any once we got inside.
Exactly.
All right, Tony Finau.
He's a nice guy. I would high five Tony.
Colin, can Tony do it again this year? What do you think?
Go ahead.
Colin.
Answer the question.
Man, we're in Finau season now. Like this is the time you want to. Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, we're on a delay.
Shoot. Oh, I'm good. Hey, all right. How the heck are you guys? It's Finau season, guys. I think this is the time of year you want to bet Tony. This was the second of his back-to-back wins last year. He's won 4 times since then, or in that calendar year, basically. He's won 4 times. He fires up on these pretty easy courses against these pretty easy fields. So, certainly not in form right now. I wouldn't bet him at 12-1, but can he win this week? Absolutely. I'd want to get that price around 15 or 16 though before I bet it for him just to outright win.
All right, Jeff, what do we think? You don't like his number where he's at, but can he do it?
I mean, he can definitely do it. As Colin said, his MO has just been to, when Tony Finau in the past used to be just he couldn't win anywhere. But now he's coming to these weaker field events, and clearly he's gotten over the psychological barrier at these weaker field events. He comes, probably sees himself at the driving range, and is like, oh my God, of course I can win this week. But at the same time, he is plus 1,200, and this field is a little bit stronger, especially than last season. I mean, we have 8 top 30 players here, so I don't really hate the plus 1,200 number on Tony Finau in these fields. We saw him win at plus 800 in Mexico earlier in the season, but we do have more variety to choose from. And for me, there's a guy at plus 2,000 in Hideki Matsuyama. And actually, I don't really hate Sanjay M, to be honest, at plus 2,200. I know we just joked about him, but Matsuyama, especially at plus 2,000, with that number out there, I would prefer to go down to him than bet Tony Finau. But realistically, we have seen Finau win in these fields so often over the past year and a half, just a short span, that I don't think taking him a plus 1,200 is really that bad an idea. There's just players that I prefer over him this week.
I mean, there are some heavy hitters still. May not be the strongest field, but Jeff, you mentioned it. Hideki, there's Max Homa, Colin Morikawa, that disappointing miscut there at the Travelers. Justin Thomas, right behind Tony Finau. Who would have thought months ago Ricky Fowler would have the second best odds to win a tournament on the PGA Tour, again, with heavy hitters? Had a great showing right at the U.S. Open, Jeff. Had a really good showing over this past weekend. What are your expectations for him in Detroit?
Man, I mean, it's double-edged sword here. I mean, Ricky Fowler, our expectations for Ricky probably got a little bit out of control. That, his first win was suddenly going to come at a major when, he had never won a major before, and he hasn't won since 2019. But if you're really picking a spot for Ricky Fowler to get the comeback win, this is the kind of event where Ricky needs to come and win. It's a weaker field. There's not as many top players here. So, I mean, I do think he can do it, and I won't really be that shocked. Plus 1,400, though. I mean, again, we're not getting no sympathy here from the sports books. There's no value to be had. There's no jumping on an early number on Monday and getting a good deal. This is it. He's the second favorite. So you kind of need him to perform this week. I'm a little bit concerned that he's played a lot of golf. He was deep in contention at the U.S. Open, shot 60 last week. Again, like I just come back to the fact that we have a little bit more options. But if you're gonna hit the top of the board this week, I think just hit Ricky if you believe in it and you've been betting him. I don't think now is the time to get off. Like if you bet him at the U.S. Open, you didn't quite get there. You bet him last week. You probably need to give him one more shot. That's the way I would be looking at Ricky Fowler. Perfectly fine to bet him. Just realize that, there are players who I would say, like Hideki Matsuyama, probably giving you better long-term value at plus 2,000 than necessarily taking on Ricky at plus 1,400.
And Colin, Fowler's been a frequent flyer here at Detroit Golf Club, playing in all 4 editions of the Rocket Mortgage Classic. I believe a T12 in 2020 stands as his best result in the event.
So I didn't just randomly grab this orange shirt out of the closet this morning. I'm wearing this for Ricky. He's going to do this thing. Ricky, I think he should be the chalk this week. He's going to get one of these over the line. Getting so close in the U.S. Open was such I think a mental hurdle for him. He doesn't have to worry about his tour status anymore. Remember, there were 125 guys who got tour cards last year. He was 125th. He was about to have to use a lifetime exemption, a one-time lifetime exemption, just to stay on tour. Now that's all gone away. He's playing all 4 majors next year because he finished T5, so he doesn't have to worry about qualifying for the majors here. He can just focus on playing winning golf and taking down trophies. I love Ricky this week. I think he gets it done. I do wish the price was a little bit better. I'm with Jeff there. I don't think there's a ton of value here necessarily, but if I'm picking any one player out of this 144-man field, I think it is, I'm taking Ricky. I think he gets it done this week.
All right, good stuff, golf gurus. Colin, you are free to go. We love you. Jeff needs you to stick around for a little NFL preview here.
Yeah.
We're going to start rolling out those previews
High
over the
five.
next couple weeks as we inch closer to the start of football. Welcome back to the Sweat. Jeff Ulrich is here alongside Pierce Dietrich. We are going to roll through some divisional previews over the next few weeks. So let's start with the division of the Super Bowl champs. The AFC West, okay? So we know it's all about the Chiefs, and then the rest of the teams just trying to catch up like it has been for the past few years. So between the Broncos, Chargers, and Raiders, Jeff, which team has done the most to improve and could possibly challenge the champs? Not really, but.
Yeah, I think that the easy answer here for people will just be to say the Broncos because they hired Sean Payton, and it's just such an easy turnaround story. I'm going to go with the Chargers personally. Bringing in Kellen Moore as the OC, I think, is a really, really big deal. What they lacked last year was explosiveness. You've got one of the best outside the pocket downfield throwers of the football in Justin Herbert, a guy who can literally make every single throw. And, they just weren't using him. He was, like in terms of yards per attempt, he was like bottom 20% in the league. And now you got a guy in Kellen Moore who specifically said, like, we want more explosive plays. They went out and grabbed Quentin Johnson in the draft. Again, exactly what Justin Herbert needs, a playmaker downfield. They already had a lot of talent in the back, and they also added just a little bit of depth to hopefully shore up their run defense. I just like everything the Chargers did. It was a very sensible offseason for them. I think a plus 340. Realistically, you're asking the Broncos to just have a huge turnaround to win this division, but the Chargers, don't forget, they almost took down the Chiefs in, I think it was week 2 of last season, not for a crazy 99-yard interception return. I think the Chargers have a real shot. They just need a little bit of luck against the Chiefs. Plus 340, reasonable number. Take them for the division.
Pierce, you looked like you were absolutely going to throw up when Jeff said that. So tell us why that's ridiculous.
Imagine if I had talked about Russell Wilson.
You should have seen Pierce's face. He was crying, screaming, and throwing up. Continue.
Yeah, I can't. Has Jeff finally quit Russell Wilson? It appears so.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
So, but the Chargers are the Chargers. We've seen this before. They look like, they're going to finally take the next step, and then Staley just kind of leads the team to nowhere every year. So I can't believe in the Chargers. So I'll go with an even more unbelievable situation, which would be the Raiders.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Well, look, if you look at the Raiders on paper, which is basically what we're doing, you have to be impressed by the weapons. Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs. You've got above-average receivers in Renfro. And also now with Jacoby Myers, the tight end that fell to them in the second round, has looked pretty good so far through OTAs. And then you hope that Crosby and Chandler Jones actually do what they're supposed to do. You add in Tyree Wilson. This could be a massive pass rush that could be game-changing for this team. Garoppolo is a bit of a question mark. The coaching is a little bit of a question mark. But the reality is no one's going to beat the Chiefs. But if someone does, I like the Raiders' chances.
All right. Whose chances do you like, Pierce, of being the best DFS player out of the AFC West this season? And obviously, guys like Patty Mayonnaise and Travis Kelce. Can you give us someone else?
How about Quentin Johnston?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I mean, Jeff's kind of right with the Chargers being flashy. I don't know if they're going to win a bunch of games, but you look at that receiving core. He's going to not receive hardly any attention. He's 6'3". He's going to catch big passes down the field. I don't think he's overall going to have the greatest season, but especially in daily fantasy, there's going to be weeks where you're going to need him. We know that Herbert and the Chargers love to pass the ball. They'll air it out. They have those massive games where they put 30, 40 points on the board and he throws for 500 yards. I don't know if he's going to be able to compete with Mahomes and Kelce throughout the entire season, but there's going to be weeks where you're going to need Chargers receivers, and I'll take the rookie.
All right, Jeff Ulrich.
I mean, I do think Quentin Johnston has a lot of potential to come out of the gates hot. I'm going to stick with the receiver position and go to Jerry Jeudy with the Denver Broncos. You look at Judy's season last year, it doesn't look that good, and obviously the Broncos offense wasn't good, but he missed a lot of time, and like just games that looked like they counted, but he barely played any snaps. You look at his numbers prorated over 17 games. He played about 13 full games. He would have been in a top 15 wide receiver, about 1,200 yards he was on pace for. And you look at Sean Payton's record with receivers between 2006 and 2012. He had a bunch of wide receivers finish in the top 12 in terms of fantasy scoring. Jerry Jeudy can absolutely accomplish a lot of this. Russell Wilson probably going to improve a little bit because the offensive line has improved, because it's a second year in Denver. If that efficiency improves a little bit with Sean Payton running things, I absolutely think Jerry Jeudy could take a step up.
All right, Jeff, which team's win total are you looking at here?
This is a tough division for win totals. I mean, obviously the Raiders as an under is certainly a play, and that's probably would be my favorite, but you're getting huge juice on the minus 190. I'm just going to stick with my call and just go with the Chargers over 9.5 wins. Again, they hit 10 wins. For all the misgivings that Pierce has about the Chargers, they hit 10 wins last year. They've improved the last 2 seasons with Justin Herbert, 9 wins and then 10 wins. And I mean, again, I really like the coaching changes that they brought in. They have a what I'd call a schedule where they could definitely get off to a hot start. They don't have a ton of tough matchups right away. And I like that if you're going to take an over on a team. Getting off to a good start is so paramount to hitting those overs. I think the Chargers can do it. I think 9.5 is pretty reasonable. We're basically just asking them to do what they did last year and hit 10 wins. So with everything and where the numbers are at, I like over 9.5 for the Chargers.
All right, Pierce, which team win total are you looking at?
Under on the Broncos. Betting against Russell Wilson's pretty much worked out in recent history. Maybe not so much in the past, but right now, when his best highlight is a creepy Subway commercial, This team's just not going anywhere. You've got Javonte Williams coming off of a knee injury. I disagree with Jeff in terms of Judy and Sutton. Sutherland. I don't think those receivers are very good. I think they're completely overrated. If they were good receivers, they would be somewhere else. They were made available, and no team wanted to trade for those guys. So I think they've been hyped up, and they just haven't really produced. You've got a quarterback that's not really producing. And yeah, Sean Payton's a great coach, but he had a lot more talent in the past. And this franchise, to me, is just in terrible shape. They have, 7 coaches in the last 10 years. They have a new coach every single day. That's destabilizing. I think if Peyton does turn this thing around, it's going to take a lot more time.
Guys, very quickly here, AFC West division winner. Who are you backing right now, Jeff? Chiefs, the obvious favorite at -165. Big gap between them and the Chargers at +340.
Yeah, look, the Chiefs are the class of the division, but I just think there is too big a gap between them and the Chargers. I really do. I think +340 is absolutely fine to take a shot with the Chargers here.
All right, Piers, Jimmy G there, now in Vegas, +1200.
Yeah, that's where I would go if I was betting.
Woo!
I wouldn't bet on the Chiefs just because it's, not. Yeah. Maybe you parlay it, boost the odds a little bit. But if you do want to chase some longer odds, maybe it wouldn't really be Jimmy G. But if that pass rush comes together, they could possibly sneak away with this division.
All right, fellas, that's a show. Congrats, Jeff, on a successful NASCAR betting hobby.
Yeah!
We'll celebrate your on-track success on Friday. We'll do champagne showers. It's going to be great.
Champagne!
That's a show. We'll be back tomorrow with Jared. See you then.